the mic over to Mark Wigley. Mark Wigley is the Dean at the University of Columbia, an individual and a school that has actively engaged in these forms of discourses and has produced a trove of education that, while we can be critical of it, presents something that may be emulated within the global world.
Thanks. After that, I can't say anything interesting after that because that was so good. I think but it makes me wonder, like this question of spatial justice, and it seemed to me the film is a good example of spatial justice at a kind of acupuncture level. But I think there are about 1 million students of architecture in the world, so it's really like a small city of optimists, because architecture, of course, is an incurable addiction. Architects treat buildings the way they should treat people. I mean, they love them. They love them, and of course, to love something, you use the word love because you're actually not sure what this thing is that you love. If you knew what it was and why you wanted to be with it, you wouldn't use the word love, right? So love means I can't stop myself. I have to be with you or with this place or whatever. So if architects love buildings, that means actually we don't know what buildings are, which gives us then an early definition of the architect, right? The architect is the only person in society who doesn't know what a building is. And so we spend our whole lives trying to figure it out, which is not such a rocket science comment, right? You could think a painter is somebody that doesn't really know what painting is, but loves it and spends their whole life painting to try to understand why they are in this relationship. But I think that if you take this sort of industrial city of 1 million people, it's also a kind of transitory city because people are in that city for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, or whatever. If you're a total loser, you become an academic, you never leave that city behind. You are listening to some of those people, actually one of them right now. So the question would be, well, what kind of work could we have this industrial city do? Like, what would be interesting? Because we all know that the workers in this city of architectural education really do their important work after they leave the school, not in the school. So what would you do during the time you're in this city of 1 million people that would help you to be stronger in society? And I was thinking your speech was so great because it raises this issue. What if every single architecture school would have only the question of spatial justice as the only thing you would ever think about, it's the only thing you would ever work on? And I think it's just a sort of mental experiment, but it seems to me it's possible that if you had that as your goal, you would also very well do all the other things like infrastructure and energy and all those things. In other words, it's very easy to imagine that spatial justice would make for better architectural education. But still then there would be the question, presupposes we know what space is and what justice is. And so architecture schools would then also become, we would discuss ethics a lot and try to understand the relationship between space and ethics. But maybe we can also pull back a little bit and say, okay, but why do we have this city for training architects anyway? And it seems to me that the really interesting skill that the architect has, and maybe has only one skill, is the ability to combine forms of information that don't belong together. Which is as simple as if a couple asks you to redesign their house because their daughter has gone to university and they don't know quite what to do with that room. Just that one question involves all sorts of forms of knowledge that actually cannot be placed together. So the architect is somebody who can visualize forms of organization that allow a kind of impossible complexity to continue. So if this is the case with the bedroom of the daughter of a friend of yours, and surely you will only ever receive commissions from your friends because of this addiction problem. I mean, it's not by accident that every architect begins with a mother's house, no? Because only when you say you're going to become an architect, that the way your parents' face falls, only your mother still would, as it were, encourage the house. But anyway, what are we doing? I I want to go back to your very first comment very quickly about the numbers, because I agree, but I think I also want to hold one statistic in mind. By 2050, there will be 9.3 billion people on the planet, of which something between 70 and 75% will live in cities. We have heard those numbers, as you say, a lot. And we've heard them from people now more and more, from people who consider themselves to be experts in those numbers, experts on megacities. But in reality, nobody knows what that means. Nobody has any idea what 70% of 9.3 billion living in cities is. At the very least, it means the whole question of what is a city is absolutely unclear. I think in this sense, we know more about life on Mars than life on Earth, right? If we had to get together and make a human civilization on Mars, we would know what to do. There's no oxygen, so we need to provide it. I mean, you could almost imagine in your mind what the city of the future on Mars would be and what kind of expertise you would need to build it, right? You'd need every form of expertise in society, and you'd have to invent some new forms. But we know less about life on Earth than we do on life on Mars, and life on Earth is coming towards us really, really fast. So I'm just interested in the thought that faced with this impossible challenge, the question of spatial justice is actually a way of pushing back against that demographic tsunami, but at least defining what it is that in a city we would really care about. And the one last point would be, of course, the great laboratories of the world in which this question is going to be answered. It's no longer United States, it's no longer Western Europe, it's Africa, Latin America, Middle East, China, maybe what used to be Russia. These are the great laboratories of the world, and surely they will answer the question differently, locally, very, very differently. And what they will do is actually come up with an answer to the question, what is a city? It's not even what is the city of the future, but what is a city? Like, what will it mean to live together in the future? And it's for this reason that for me, it's just a super privilege to be here and to listen. You are the teachers.